After they let up, after they're gone, that's when we go.
Okay. We wait.
Hey guys, Kiwi here. In this video, I'll be breaking down and analyzing the newest sneak peek for the next episode of The Walking Dead, Season 8, Episode 9, the Season 8 mid-season premiere. With that all being said, major warning and spoilers for everything in the show up to Episode 808, and let's jump right into this. Alright, so the sneak peek starts out during what is most likely one of the first few conversations of the episode, as all the Alexandrians hide out in the sewers while all the saviors are still up above destroying everything. This main conversation includes Rosita, Michonne, Dwight, and Daryl, although there is not much talking between them all. The sneak peek starts out with Dwight stating that after they let up, after they're gone, that's when we go. Now, it seems like this sneak peek is already starting partly through the conversation, so I assume that they were already discussing when it's okay for them to leave the sewers and go elsewhere. Now, after Dwight states that they have to stay put, the camera just kind of cuts to everyone, including Rosita and Daryl holding either Judith or Gracie, and this all implies that Daryl and Rosita and Michonne as well actually were possibly speaking earlier on in the conversation, as it cuts to them and their reactions after Dwight finishes speaking. So why does the camera focus on all of them? First off, was Daryl bringing up the fact that it's not a good idea to keep a baby down in the sewers or something? I could see him complaining about having to wait things out down there. But moving on, I assume that the camera focuses on Rosita because she's most likely suggesting to go to the hilltop to meet up with Maggie, but more on that in just a moment. The camera also focuses on Michonne, along with Dwight specifically looking at Michonne when he speaks, because Michonne is probably advocating for them to leave the sewers as well. I discussed this in my breakdown of the promo trailer for episode 809, but I pretty much just explained how Michonne wants to go back above ground because of Carl. We'll probably see a conversation between her, Rick, and Carl at the beginning of the episode, followed by Michonne coming over to everyone else in order to ask if they can bring Carl above ground. This explains why she seems very unhappy with Dwight's answer for them to stay put, along with why she seems to angrily walk off in the middle of the sneak peek.
Okay. We wait.
So as to why she may be asking to bring Carl above ground, you know, Carl is bitten and he's slowly dying off, so they probably want to get him above ground so he doesn't spend his final moments in a sewer. Carl probably doesn't care too much himself, but I could see Michonne wanting to do just everything that she can to make Carl's final moments as comfortable as possible, which would probably include, like, staying in a bed or at least laying in the grass or not in the sewers, but a similar option could be that Carl is actually already dead by the point in the episode that this conversation is taking place that we see in the sneak peek, and that Michonne is wanting to bring Carl's dead body above ground to the graveyard of Alexandria to bury him. The first scene of the promo trailer shows Rick and Michonne depressingly paying their respects to what looks like a cross marking a grave, so unless that's a misdirection, I assume that the cross is marking Carl's grave and that they bury him in episode 809. Now, they could be standing over someone else's grave, but come on, it's probably Carl, right? So, just like in the comics, Alexandria is now destroyed after Negan's very explosive attack. And just like in the comics, everyone seems to have this general consensus where they will all move to the hilltop for the final stand. There's this big thing during one of the issues of the comics where Rick makes the decision to leave Alexandria right after the fight, at least until the war is over, and so they all pack up all their remaining things and move to the hilltop until the conclusion of all-out war. Now, what I'm about to explain next is kind of a slight digression, but it is relevant and it does tie into things, so bear with me. Now, in the comics, Ezekiel was never captured or anything at the Kingdom, as Gavin never existed and the Kingdom was actually never attacked by the Saviors during All-Out War. After Ezekiel's men got slaughtered in the comics, like on the show, because you know that all did happen, Ezekiel actually returns to Alexandria, where he is sharing a house with Michonne. Negan attacks Alexandria in the comics just like in the show, except Ezekiel is there as well. He survives, leading him to agree to go to the hilltop alongside everyone else. This is because he has a strong friendship with Michonne, just like how he does with Carol in the show, except in the comics he has a romantic relationship with Michonne on top of it. I've discussed this many times before, but this is why people are speculating Carol and Ezekiel to get together eventually, although that's not really necessary. Anyways, my point is that Ezekiel closing himself off with Gavin is all original to the show, but we should see a conclusion to that between them, Morgan, and Carol over the next episode or so. I'll have a future video up on the channel, hopefully this week, discussing all of that in great detail, but for now, it's become an entire situation of its own. That woman who talked to Ezekiel in Season 7 from the Kingdom has seemed to help lead all of the Kingdom's people to the hilltop. At least that's what we were left to imply at the end of episode 808. So with everyone left at the Kingdom and Alexandria on their way to the hilltop, along with Maggie making talk about fortifying it for a final stand, we're definitely seeing a huge amount of setup for the second half of All Out War, which will take up the second half of Season 8. Now, we're actually unsure if All Out War will last right up to the Season 8 finale, which would be episode 816, or if it will end a few episodes prior, but that's another topic for another day. Anyways, I mentioned this whole general consensus of everyone deciding to move to the hilltop because in the 809 sneak peek, Dwight seems to imply that this is what Rosita suggested. Dwight says, "You sure going to the hilltop is the best plan?" as he looks at Rosita. She responds obviously a little bit offended as she asks Dwight if he has a better idea, but Dwight seems to be worried about them all getting wiped out at once.
Are you sure going to hilltop's the best plan?
You got a better one?
All of you in one place together.
All of us together. We'll be their worst damn nightmare.
Now, first off, Rosita was at the hilltop briefly with Sasha before they went rogue near the end of Season 7, so it makes sense that she would suggest going back there as she's more familiar with it than maybe others. Dwight isn't necessarily mocking Rosita's plan, he's just nervous about them all being in one place at one time because they can all get taken out at one time. You gotta remember that this conversation is happening as Alexandria is burning to the ground above them, so I assume that Dwight figures the same thing will just happen at the hilltop as well. And so he says, "All of you in one place together," but he gets cut off by Daryl, who says, "All of us together be their worst damn nightmare." This is where the sneak peek ends off, and it seems pretty fitting as it's a pretty hype way to end the conversation. Daryl seems very confident that they'll be able to regroup and win the final battle, but isn't he just kind of continuing his current personality of being ruthlessly angry at the Saviors? And don't you just love how Daryl just sort of talks under his breath in shortened sentences now? Hell, he could fit in right with Jadis at the junkyard. AMC, please bring back the loudmouth, short-haired, obnoxious redneck Daryl for the new beginning, please. Thank you very much. But anyways, guys, what did you think about this entire sneak peek? What do you think about episode 809? Feel free to leave your opinions down in the comments below, as I'd love to hear your thoughts and predictions. I'd appreciate a like on the video if you've enjoyed anything I've said today, or even subscribe for more Walking Dead Season 8 content in the near future. And if you'd like to take that extra step in helping support my videos, consider checking out my Patreon, where there's a bunch of different rewards involving the channel, such as a chance to directly influence the videos being produced. It isn't necessary by any means, but it could really help in the long run. But as always, I thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.
They think all of you got away in the woods, but they're out there looking.
Please, make them stop.
Together, we'll be their worst damn nightmare.
You set this course, Rick. Who's next? You are.
The Walking Dead returns this February, only on AMC.